What's going on, folks? It's good to catch up with everybody again. It's your boy BC. We're here live with another episode of Family and Friends Day. I know it's been a minute. This one is an honor, man. I got a chance to catch up with a good friend of mine, uh, Brandon King of SneakerShopTalk.com. This one's gonna be a real treat and well deserved right now. We need a break from a lot of the crazy content that we're seeing online, but this is going to be a lot of fun for me, especially. I'm glad to have you on, Brandon. I guess say hello to everybody, and we'll get it started.
Well, thank you, brother. I appreciate you having me on, and I'm just honored to be able to be here on your platform.
Appreciate it. I'm glad to have you on, man. It's an honor to have you on. So I guess we'll jump right into it. You are the founder of SneakerShopTalk.com. And
yes, indeed.
It's almost basically like a one-stop shop for all things sneakers and hoops culture and just a real huge like smorgasbord of all that.
Well, yeah, I appreciate that, and I kind of decided to do that because we're in the same age range. So I grew up on the Kicksology.net generation. Those of us of a certain age, we remember that website and how influential it was, and checking it out every day. And that was actually initially, that was kind of where this whole thing got started. That was at that point I said I want to do sneaker reviews too. So this is actually spawned out of a YouTube channel that I had and still have of the same name, and where I was doing performance reviews, and we were getting a lot of good traction with that. The channel was growing, and unfortunately, I had the first of two ACL tears, and that kind of derailed that for a while. I probably didn't play for about 2 years. And as you know, in that world, if you're not constantly uploading things, it kind of passes you by. So sitting around, not being able to really play and everything, but still wanting to do something, kind of just pulled out the notepad and tried to figure out how could I still kind of be, involved if I wasn't making reviews or whatever. And kind of, like I said, just took a notepad and wrote some things out. And what came out of it ended up becoming SneakerShopTalk.com.
That's dope. And it's funny. I remember you almost 10 years ago. Actually, probably, yeah, about 10 years ago now, 2010.
Yeah.
I remember across your YouTube channel, it used to be Air Jordan 14, right?
Yep, that was it. And funny thing about all my handles back then, whether I'm gonna date myself with some of these references, whether it be AIM or Yahoo Instant Messenger, or for those of us who are really old, remember Sneaker Play?
I don't remember Sneaker Play.
Sneaker Play was an invite-only like network for sneaker people, and the only way somebody had to invite you on to the website. So the Air Jordan 14s, the Air Bacons, I would always name them after the shoe I was wearing the day I created that particular account. But as it relates to the 14, that's the first Air Jordan that I ever bought with my own money. And so, quick story, it was the black toe colorway. That was the first one that I ever bought. And I had just gotten my first job, like senior in high school. You didn't get your first job, first check. Went down to Foot Locker, and I went in, and today's kids, I hate to sound like the old dude sitting on the porch. Today's kids, they won't understand. I walked in a Foot Locker at 5 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon and bought a pair of Air Jordans and a t-shirt and walked out. We'd have to wait in line or nothing.
Yep.
And
that's how it was.
Yeah, the black toe colorway of that shoe will always, that's like my number one.
That's an underrated pair, man. I remember I bought that pair a few years later, 2003, on eBay, and I got them for like this crazy deal. Like they didn't come with the box; they were lightly used or whatever. But I remember having the black
Mm-hmm.
toe just now, like it just came back to me. I've had the black toes. I had the last shots 2 times. And for those of y'all who are listening, we're talking about some of the Air Jordan retro line. Uh, the Air Jordan 14s, they were the 14th edition of the Air Jordans, which famously was known for being worn by Jordan when he hit the last shot against the Utah Jazz in '98 to win the '98 championship for the Bulls. So, a very iconic shoe inspired by the Ferrari. I'm turning to a nerd right now, but hey, that's all.
Yeah, I have 6 pair of black toes in my
Mhm.
closet right now. Yeah, like you said, the thing about eBay. Yeah, I just got crazy deals on it, and then like, I bought 1 pair, and then I kept coming across them. Um, so yeah, I love that shoe. If it comes out again, I will buy it again and every time that it releases.
Yep. I want to get some of those. I want to get some last shots, and I want to get the white and reds.
So
I
yes.
never had the white and red ones.
It's funny, I came across my pair last night. I was looking for, I think I was doing an article on a pair of, no, yeah, I was doing a posting on, I think it was a pair of 14, the Hyper Royals, and I was trying to figure out whether on the, whether they called it varsity red back then, they different colors now. And
Right.
through looking, I came across my OG pair of white and reds. Just still semi-wearable. They need a little bit of, I got a little bit of separation around the toe. Of course, that's the only sad thing about having older shoes.
They start falling
But
apart.
yeah, you got to put a little bit of maintenance on it.
Yeah. Speaking of that, man, like what is your whole take on the whole sneaker game right now in 2020? And I think it might be a little bit of a stretch, but maybe I feel like we've kind of survived the whole hype beast era as best as we could. We've survived some of these trends that happen in sneaker culture. What is your whole rundown on it as you see it in 2020?
Um, well, like I said, I have been, with the exception of a 5 to 6 year period in the mid 2000s, I've been kind of in the sneaker game since '98. Um, and yeah, I've totally seen it change from where it was kind of like an underground thing almost, uh, you just had a few people, and then it started to kind of build, and a lot more people have come into it, which is good. A lot more people are being kind of exposed to it, but with that, like I said, if the people who just see it as the next trend or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
um, and it's so big now, you to where you have these huge platforms, ESPN, for instance, Bleacher Report, they take segments just to talk about what sneakers these guys are wearing.
Yep.
So it's gotten to a huge place. But like I said, the the hype beasting, the element of that is still there. It's more or less now, I think, to where it used to be, it was more athlete driven.
Mm-hmm.
You see Grant Hill or Penny Hardaway or whoever, you want the shoe because you saw them do that in the shoe.
Right.
Now it's like, well, and I'm throwing a name, I'm not picking on anybody. You see, Travis Scott in a pair of Dunks or whatever. Now you want that just because he was wearing it walking in the gas station or something.
You know what's funny? Travis Scott got a Jordan deal now. You would never see this.
Mm-hmm. No, because you'd be like, well, how many points per game did he average to get this? And
Right.
and now it's more or less, oh God, I hate to use this word, influencer driven, to where like I said, it's not really an athlete thing anymore. So you see more of it gravitating toward that which is kind of almost, unless you're kind of up on who some of these dudes are, you're like, why? I don't get it. Like,
Mm.
it's some of these collaborations, I'm like, I don't get it. But, and it's not, not to again sound like the dude standing on the porch uh screaming at children to get off my lawn. It's just different. I don't know if that model is sustainable, because at some point, either the people who are in it now will move on to whatever the next thing is, or heavens forbid, the people who've been in it, if they age out, if it's going to be sustainable along that line. I think if brands just focus more or less on producing quality, great product, and then go back to incorporating those stories that they used to, then I think the sneaker game will be in very good hands going forward. I hope I didn't ramble.
Yeah, you did. You telling the truth, and that's the thing too about sneaker culture that always fascinated me, man, is that sneakers tell a story, especially the basketball shoes. Like they always had a story behind them.
Mm-hmm.
Like foam posits, they had a story in terms of that. I think by accident, I think that was supposed to be Penny Hardaway's shoe by accident. Not supposed to, but it was his shoe by accident. I meant to say.
Yeah.
I
Mm-hmm.
think the designers had another shoe for him in mind, and he looked across the room at the prototype, and he wanted that to be a shoe. To make a long story short,
Yep.
and I heard, was it Daewoo? They had a hand in designing that shoe that
I
made both.
believe it was. It's been so long, and for those of you who don't know, Daewoo is a Korean automobile maker.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I believe they did have a hand in that.
And what's funny, I remember back in the day, they tried to tell the story that, the phone posit one will never come back. This is like in the early 2000s. It would never come back because they destroyed the mold for it. So they built up this height of like real exclusivity, and like the phone posit gained so much momentum and so much folklore around it because that was the whole narrative. They had destroyed the
Yep.
mold. And then when they did drop around '06 or '07, it was just crazy.
It was
Now
it was nuts.
you see phone ones everywhere.
Yeah, they have that shoe. That that shoe has been bastardized at all at approaching an Air Force One or Air Jordan 1 level.
Man.
Uh, and it's funny, and I remember when that shoe first came out, they couldn't give it away. And that
Yep.
shoe, it got trashed because people was like, well, it's $180. Who's gonna pay that much uh, for a shoe? Like, I'm not paying that much. You could, I remember you could, and you probably can tell a similar story, that you could get that particular shoe on sale, just at bargain basement price. They couldn't give the royal blue foams away. Can I give that shoe away?
Nope. I remember there was a time when I've seen certain phones going for like $80 at Finish
Yeah.
Line, Foot Action, places like that. This is 15, 16 years ago when
Mm-hmm.
the pros were being retro, but the ones weren't. I
Mm-hmm.
remember seeing the red. They were bringing the red pros. They did like the some of the other colorways of the foam posit shoe. So
Mm-hmm.
they were going for bargain basement prices, and then the ones dropped, and it just revitalized the whole foam posit line.
Yep. Who would have thought 2012 they'd be fighting and stabbing in the parking lot for the Galaxy?
For the Galaxy. Yep. And then after that, yep, it got crazy. Then after that, they started coming out with all these other versions of the foam posits. Like they started making a lot of other hoop shoes based on the foam posit technology. Chris
Mm-hmm.
Bosh had a pair. I think Nate Robinson, he had with the Kryptonates.
Yeah. Composite lights, I believe those what it
Foam
was.
posit. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. That. Yeah. That. In I think that is an example of kind of the hype that you were talking about, that earlier, a shoe that was kind of ignored and not cared about. All of a sudden, there seems like, because I mean, I write about this stuff. I feel like I write about that shoe a lot,
Right.
too much, almost. And I'm gonna say it. That's a shoe that probably needs to go back in the vault for a few years, because like what is it? No, I'm thinking of the Flight Posit. Never mind. I was about to trash shoe that I didn't need to. That was the Flight Posit 1. So I'll withdraw what I was about to say.
You might as well say it. We hear it now.
Okay, fine. I go ahead. So, you know, they've last couple of years they've been trickling out the Flight Posit 1, slowly but surely. And with the shoes sucked. Like, with the exception of a few colorways, I think there was a Chinese New Year colorway that was cool. But when they first brought them back out, they did it without the zipper and I wish if I would have known this shoe, I would get up and get a pair to show the people. Just, if you're going to bring a shoe back of that caliber, just do it right. On the sides of that shoe, the grooves in that shoe, if you look at older pairs, because how it goes like that up the shoe, the grooves were a lot more sharper. They were more defined. I picked up, because initially when I saw the pictures of the Knicks Flight Posit 1, I was like, I like the color. I think I want it. Then I saw them in person, and I was like, what in the world? It was rounded off, the channels. It just, I said, oh, this is terrible. This is half butt put together. So, nah, I would just say, if you're going to do that particular shoe or any shoe, just do it right. But kind of tying that back to the foam that we were talking about, just stick it in the vault for a few years. It's a few shoes that need to go in the vault for a few years.
Yeah, and we wouldn't
the
miss
pros and the ones.
The foam.
My God, the Air, yes, and my
Yeah.
God, the Air Jordan 1. Can we just? Oh, good Lord.
The Air Jordan 1 is the equivalent of the Chuck Taylors, Air Force Ones, Puma Clydes. They're in that category now. They're basically a lifestyle shoe. But I agree. Like, we probably could put them away for a while and give them a break.
As Jim Cornette would say, how can we miss you if you never go away?
Right.
Like,
That's true.
I want to like Air Jordan 1s again. I remember when there was a time we meant to own a pair, and now it's just new week, new colorway.
That's how it is.
That's literally how it is. And anything you want to try to throw on there, multicolor, mids, zippers.
Low top.
I mean, I get it. I guess it's MJ's favorite model, but that doesn't mean it's our favorite model.
Yeah, it ain't mine. I'll go out on a stretch and I'll just troll people. I say, I like the 15s. I have an affinity for the Air Jordan 15. And I say that because I know nobody else looks for them.
No, you won't have whenever they do drop, you won't have a tough time getting a pair unless they slap some hyper, some collab around it. You ain't gonna have.
If they put that red label on that box, that famous red square, you know what I mean? The word starts with an S. That's how they it up.
Say no more. I know exactly. Yep, you're right.
Shout out to Supreme. Supreme Air Jordan 15. Oh, there they go.
I got to have them now. Look, if that company can somehow fool people into buying bricks for $50, I can't even get mad at them, because, hey, if they'll buy it, put it out there.
Supreme could put, to your point, they could put their label on one of the sides of a brick, a literal cement brick, and probably sell it for 4 times what it's worth.
Yeah, they did that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, hey, more power to them. I'm not gonna knock the hustle on that one.
Not at all. Hey, hats off to whatever the business model is, because it's been working. But yeah, man. But so like we talk about these shoes, and we document them. We've been able to curate the whole timeline of how they've been over history. Like, as someone who
Mm-hmm.
actually has his own site for these sneakers and sneaker culture, what are some of your favorite shoes to write about? What are some of the shoes that you've had the easiest time really reviewing, and things of that nature?
Well, we've talked about one of them already. So, of course, that's
Yeah.
the Air Jordan 14. And I would say really a lot of the golden era shoes from Nike basketball, and even some of the beaten off the path shoes uh, that have kind of dropped. But I would said a lot of the Jordan stuff because one, I went through a period of where and looking back, I can call myself a sneaker snob. To where if it doesn't have a Jumpman on it, I would not wear it. And so starting off, of course, the site was very Jordan heavy. So like I said, we kind of gravitated towards some of the other things. So a lot of the Nike basketball stuff. Of course, the easy stuff is the pennies, the Gary Paytons, the flight posits. That's all fairly easy and fun to write about. But I find this was surprising. I've actually enjoyed more and more New Balance, because I mean, kind of under the radar, they are putting together a lot of dope stuff. And we talked about collabs earlier, but a lot of theirs, they consistently knock it out of the park with some of the concept stuff or some of the other things that they do. I'm enjoying that. I've kind of gotten into covering kind of some of the smaller brands like Ewing, since
Mhm.
they've come back. I've actually we'll be posting some stuff about some of their stuff a little bit later today. And then lately I shouldn't say lately, but we'll be doing a lot of the black owned brands that are out there, whether it's Nagast footwear or Rock Deep or some of these other brands that just people just don't know about. So we're going to start doing that, and I look forward to that. This is going to be fun, because to me, it's easy to write about the Jordan brands and Adidas, and they're great. They've been kind of the stalwarts for years, and they still are. And we give them a hard time, but they do still put out a lot of great stuff. But I think for me, kind of not only is it more fun to talk about some of these other brands and kind of help expose it to a larger audience, but it helps differentiate us from some of the other places out there that you can go and find out about some of these other brands, because sneaker culture is not just Nike, Jordan, and Adidas. There's so many other great brands out there that are doing some great things, and so we're having fun kind of getting into that. And I'll kind of say this so I don't ramble on. The great thing about when you're working with smaller brands, you can get right to a decision maker quick.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to find out some brand history or just talk to them and to incorporate some information into a piece, and they are always very happy to hear about it, because they're not getting that a lot of these other websites aren't reaching out to some of these brands. So that's to answer that, that's probably what I would say.
Nice. And it's funny you mentioned some of those smaller brands, especially the black-owned brands. I remember Jamal Crawford had he was in a situation. What's the name of that? It's a company based out of L.A. Black-owned company. I can't remember the name right away.
There. Oh, if
You know
you
what I'm talking
hadn't
about?
asked me, mm-hmm.
Jamal Crawford. Because those are some really dope shoes, and I actually wanted a pair for myself to actually wear to play in. And it goes basically what I'm alluding to is the fact that there's this narrative that black owned anything could be inferior a lot of times, but hey, to me a lot of that stuff was on par with what we see with some of the more
Yeah,
mainstream and bigger names. They just might
yeah,
not have had the push or the marketing or whatever the case might have been.
yeah. I you remember the shoes that Ron Artest was wearing with the Lakers ball and footwear with
Oh,
Rodney Jeter and some of those guys. I've got a couple pair in the closet, and I played in them. I actually did a review of them.
mm-hmm.
I did the layup was the one that I did, and I found it to be pretty comparable to some of the stuff from some of the bigger brands that were out there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that kind of goes back to what you were saying. It definitely, from a performance standpoint, was not inferior at all. Um,
Right.
and I graded anything else. Was it some things that it could have done better? Of course, but considering that was kind of a first effort, and the fact that said there's not a perfect shoe out there, I thought it was a very good shoe. So yeah, like you said, it's a lot of stuff out there, whether it's the Q4 or whoever out there.
And shout out to Rodney Jeter too. I actually had a chance to chop it up with him a few years ago. Real down to earth guy, man. Very gracious. Allowed me the time to get a chance to talk to him. I actually I had an old basketball blog, and I had the chance to do a write up about him on my blog about 5 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I was fascinated, just like you. I mean, a brother out of Chicago, I believe, had a brand. Yeah, it was getting some momentum, and don't quite know what happened to it, but I would love to see more of that from folks from the
Yeah.
culture for sure.
Yeah, I think the last, like you said, because said I would go to their website, and the last time I heard I don't know if they were rebranding, but something was going on with it. Because I know just like the e-commerce section had went down, and some other things, because I wanted to pick up another couple pair, said to
Mm-hmm.
kind of review. So yeah, I would kind of like to know what happened. So hey, Mr. Jeter, if you happen to run across this, or anybody from Ballin, holler at us, let us know what's going on, because you still got some fans out here.
For sure. Yeah, man. Hey, my whole thing, if he sees this, shout out to him. And please try to come back, resurrect that line if you can. But I'm rocking with it. The apparel, the shoes, it don't matter. But like I said, I think we're gonna see more of that anyway. Like you said, you mentioned the Rock Deeps and some of these other brands. So that's definitely cool
Yeah,
in the game.
I,
If
I
we just
think. Oh
if
no,
we,
go ahead.
yeah, if we could shift gears real quick to, you mentioned New Balance. Do you like Kawhi Leonard's move to New Balance? Because that was a reputable brand, especially back in the '80s.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with. I was intrigued initially when it happened. I wasn't surprised, particularly uh, with Jordan Brand having a propensity to lowball people on contract offers.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was intrigued because they hadn't really been in the basketball space in about 30 years,
Right.
and so to kind of see, what they might do. Uh, I was kind of, they must have really either backed the Brinks truck up to Kawhi's house, or they must have really blown him away with what they showed him in the presentation in terms of performance and what they had were looking to do. So I like the Omni one. I from a particularly from an aesthetic standpoint, even if it did kind of look like a Superfly, but that's neither here nor there.
About the
From what
Jordan
I,
Super, right?
yeah, yeah.
I remember that shoe.
But that, I think, like from an aesthetic standpoint, it looked pretty good. Um, from what I've heard, it performed fairly well. Um, I will say this as far as like him actually leaving. I think you will possibly see more things along those lines, um, particularly like with some of these uh, vintage nostalgic brands kind of getting back into the basketball space. I
Like
don't
Utah.
think yeah, the Kawhi thing, that won't be an isolated incident, because you can go to, say, one of the big brands, and unless you're, on that superstar track, and you might just be another guy, or you can go to one of these smaller brands and be the guy. They'll build their whole deal around.
That's one of the beautiful things about the 80s and basketball. You saw a lot of superstars. Man, there was so much diversity on the sneaker landscape. You had, we know about Nike, Adidas, Converse, Puma. You had Kangaroos. You had Etonics. You had Brooks.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, Asics. I mean, the landscape was very, very wide back in the 80s. We had cats.
Mm-hmm.
I think Dominique had a thing with Brooks. Was it Brooks or Etonics? No, it was
Brooks,
Brooks.
yeah.
Later on, he went to Reebok. But Isaiah had his deal with Asics. I think he started out with
Mm-hmm.
Converse, then he went to Asics, and I mean, that, like you said, that was not an anomaly to see dudes. Ewan eventually got his own shoe when he left Adidas in the late '80s,
Yeah.
early '90s. So
Mm-hmm.
that was a big thing, and I agree. I can see a day. I mean, it's already happened with the Ball family. They're already kind of tinkering around with that whole concept. So, like you said, we're going to see more ballers and more big names shift into their own situations with different brands.
Yeah. Because especially now that when you bring that up, because now these guys, they see themselves in and of them on their independent brand. So
Right.
and now that that footwear component kind of goes into it, and kind of establishing, carving out their own little fiefdom within a company. Um, when you see it, like, with Puma, Target, and all these young guys, they just signed um, LaMelo Ball here in the last couple days.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah, they had they were targeting him, so they were. I think last week they were kind of crossing all the T's and dotting the I's on his deal. But they've been kind of, if you notice what they've done, they're targeting a lot of the younger guys. They got Ayton and Bagley and Kuz.
They got some
And then
vets too, like Boogie.
yeah, they got Boogie, Danny Green.
Mm-hmm.
I know Rudy Gay had signed with him, but in the bubble I saw him wearing Nikes. So I don't know what's going on with his situation, but yeah, you'll see a lot of that, and I really agree with you. I think it's a really good thing because as this thing and kind of what we were talking about earlier, with the amount of money and attention that's now on sports and footwear, things of that nature. A lot of these other companies are looking around, and they see the potential there. They see dollar signs is what they really see. Um, so you're going to see, some of these smaller brands, like you were talking about, kind of come in, and then you may see more of these vintage brands kind of inch their way and try to reestablish themselves in that space. Because basketball is unique in that you can go out. If I see, since we were just talking about Kyle Kuzma in a pair of Pumas, I can go out and get that exact shoe.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in football and baseball, I can go out and get the cleats that Aaron Judge has, but I can't style in them. I can't, I'm not finna post a picture of them on the gram or whatever, or the same in football. I don't want to wear, what Patrick Mahomes is. I can't, those are more specific. But with basketball, it's focused, and I mean, you could say the same thing in tennis, but unless your name is Andre Agassi, no one cares about what you wear.
Right.
You know. So with that, it's like you see it and you can go and get it, and because of that, that kind of, to me, that puts basketball shoes in a particularly special space. And because of that, that's one of the reasons I think that you're seeing the growth, not only just of attention on it, and with attention that can come money, and with money can come other companies.
That's true. Well said. Yeah, you mentioned the business of basketball, and before we get on to the next thing, I had this thing, been a Lakers fan for a long time, but I when it was rumored that Kawhi may go to the Lakers a couple of summers ago, I saw in my mind, I'm by no means a marketing genius, but I had this concept of how dope it would be to see Kawhi Leonard in a New Balance commercial with James Worthy. And as a Lakers fan, I don't know if we'll get a chance to see that.
Nah, I think that ship has probably sailed. I think you might have had a better chance had not LeBron gone there, because I don't think, particularly when they got AD, I don't think that somebody's got to be there has to be a hierarchy in there, and I don't think Kawhi would have been satisfied with being the third guy.
No.
And I would venture to say the second guy. I think he would want to be the guy, and that ain't gonna work because there's only one basketball, and he wouldn't work in the LeBron James system.
Mm-mm.
Sorry, LeBron and Lakers fans. I had to say it.
Hey, that's a whole other conversation to itself. Man, old LeBron, boy, man. Yeah.
I'm not gonna start. I don't want Shannon Sharp, and if I can borrow something from RB to break through the LeBron James Justice Coalition, I don't want them coming after me.
You don't want that. You don't want that. I always say Shannon Sharp is the proud father of LeBron James. I'll say that.
Lord.
He like that proud father we all want.
I would hope we would all have somebody in our lives that defends us to the level that Shannon Sharp does LeBron James.
Oh my God! And Kendrick Perkins is competing for that spot too.
Well, Perk probably just happy LeBron helped keep him in the league about 3 or 4 years longer than he should have been. So yeah. he James Jones them into some into where he is now. So it's wow. With Shannon, I wondered for a while, because at first I'm like, okay, because I'm like, how much of this is shtick and how much of this does he really like believe this stuff?
Right.
I'm like, I don't know. And the crazy thing about that is, if you just wipe away the over the top LeBron James stupor fandom, a lot of the other stuff he says, like particularly stuff on football, it's rock solid.
Yeah.
A lot of the other stuff, but it's like it's that has almost overtaken. So you watch just to see the goat mask and all this other stuff.
I was about to say that. One of the deepest things I've heard Shannon Sharp say in terms of sports was how when he watches basketball and football games, he doesn't watch with the audio on. He watches the game, he turns the audio off because he wants to be able to analyze the game from what he sees, so that he doesn't get caught up in the commentary and the narrative, the storytelling, and all that stuff. He wants to see the game for what it is, so he can actually have something to break down when he goes back on set.
That's interesting. I can get that. I just wish he would apply that to LeBron James, because he's talking about creating narratives. He's helping push one.
Man, that goat mask, man, that says it all right there. That says it all.
I understand you got to try to get ratings, even though you know what? Now I'm gonna take a stand. I'm going to say it. I'm gonna say it. I'm not gonna back down. This smoke I do want.
All right.
to everyone who sees this, I hate to tell you this, but LeBron James is not the greatest player ever. Hate to
No,
tell you that. Sorry to burst your bubble. He's just not.
he's
I know
not.
what the TV I know what the TV has been telling y'all, and I understand some of y'all weren't old enough to see Michael Jeffrey, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird. I understand that. But I'm telling you, he's just not.
He's not.
It's just not. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
He's far from chopped liver, but he ain't the GOAT.
He is not. And I said it. I've said it for quite a while. I feel like that is a manufactured conversation.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, he went from being a great player, the best in the league, like, yeah, to all of a sudden, is he better than Joe? Wait a minute. When did you pass Larry Bird, if we want to just be perfectly honest about it?
Yeah.
When did you pass Magic? How did you go from we just bypass everybody and all of a sudden you trying to stare eye to eye with Jordan and you being in LA?
When did he pass
there's and Kobe, there's a you out there in the belly of that. So there's a ardent contingent of fans that don't even feel like he is on Kobe's level yet.
Oh man, it's like some Laker fans who have been around for a long time, especially like LA natives who are Laker fans. Yeah, they'll tell you they're not as excited about this LeBron thing as a lot of other people are. I can tell you that. I really believe LeBron probably want to win. He may have to win two to really cement some sort of legacy in LA. I think one would be nice, but because the season is compromised and all the weird stuff with the season, he may have to win another one if they win in October when the finals.
Yeah, that's and that's not a sure gone conclusion.
Right.
That's gonna happen. Yeah, that's true. I would, because LA getting this ain't the Eastern Conference. This ain't where getting there was good enough.
Mm-hmm.
You got the win here. I should say.
Yeah, they don't accept that in the Western Conference, man. Especially in Laker Nation, man. Laker Nation is a tough crowd. They're probably a more demanding crowd than even like the Celtics fans or some of these other traditional blue blood franchises.
Mm-hmm.
Laker fans expect to win every year, even when they don't make the playoffs.
They figure it was a reason.
They're like Knicks fans,
except y'all win. The Knicks fans had it. 1973 was a long time ago.
A long
time ago.
Well before our lifetime.
Yeah. I didn't plan on getting into the Jordan LeBron thing, but that just irks me.
Yeah.
Not because I'm a Jordan guy, because here's the thing. Even as fans of basketball, I have no doubt that eventually there's going to be a guy who will come along and be like, oh, yeah, he's better than MJ. And when it happens, you won't have to try so hard to convince people.
Yep.
It will be self-evident. You won't have to push these narratives, because I'm old enough to know when someone's trying to sell me something. And with that, you're constantly trying to sell me something. And the fact of the matter, like, you can go through and debunk all of the arguments, but like I said, that's a whole nother conversation. Mm-hmm. But I will just say this. One of the things that bugs me is the fact that you can't make your argument without tearing down another great player to make your argument. Your argument is flawed from the jump. You don't have an argument.
There's a lot of slander in these types of arguments too. A lot of name calling, a lot of finger pointing, and like you said, if it has to be that contrived, it ain't real. And I believe with the way basketball is right now, the time is right for a player to come in and grab that title, especially if he has those intangibles. Like you said, you'll know it'd be something it'll be like an aura about him. Like, man, he got it. He got the juice, like they
Yeah,
say in the old movie.
yeah. You will tell, and you won't have to make excuses and say, well, it's weather. But I mean, getting there, you got there 8 straight times. Yeah, but you lost 5 of them. How do we hold these dudes up? You say you got the win, but then to this other person, well, you just got there, so that's just as good. No,
Yeah,
no, that's like saying that. Well, yeah, he's got to be just as good as a shooter as Steph Curry because when he misses, his shots rim out. It's not like he's all over the place. His shots just rim out.
right.
So he's on par. But no, 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 no,
Yep.
no, no. I'm sorry, I did not mean for the conversation to go there. We might come back for a part 2 just on that, but I'm just.
We may have to. We may have to. And I'm mad. We may have to set that up, especially with we may have to bring some other class into this conversation too.
Yeah, absolutely. He might have looked into doing that.
Yep. Yeah, that thing, man. And as we know, like LeBron, he's in these conversations. Also, he made a brand for himself. Back to the whole thing. Kobe, Nike has just a powerhouse. But like we said earlier, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing some of these guys come along in these other lanes and create a lane for themselves. But sneaker shop talk, man. Like I'm looking forward to talking about that for a second.
Okay.
What do you in 20 like the rest of 2020 moving forward? What are your plans for it? What do you want to do with it? And what should we be on the lookout for?
Well, as far as for the rest of the year, like I've kind of delved into a little bit, we'll be expanding our coverage out into some other brands as well, not at the sacrifice of, but just in addition to sporting coverage. Said we are rather basketball heavy, be it, of course, the NBA. For those of you who are fans of the National Basketball League, which is the professional league in Australia, we do cover that too.
Nice.
When the stuff was going on and still is, we did the TBT. We'll be doing the Big Three again this summer. We also we do cover a lot of HBCU sports. Just because there's not a lot of voices in that space outside of like HBCU Game Day and Omnibus Sports, and when a lot of these other outlets do it, some of your your ESPNs, they give it precursory lip service. It's like 1-2 little paragraphs buried in the section of the website that you have to look to find. So particularly as an HBCU alum myself, Tennessee State class of 2005, I feel like that's earned. And to Texas Southern out there, we're the real TSU. Yep, I said it.
Y'all heard
that. It's all love, Texas Southern. I'll try. It's all love. But we cover, just because to try to get that out there and promote those, because there's a lot of great sports played in the SWAC, the SIAC, the MEAC, while it's still around. That's a whole nother story. And the CIAA. And with football, that still producing professional level talent in football and basketball. But a lot of it just doesn't, get the promotion that it needs. So hopefully in the next 6 to 12 months, we can add some more writers. I have some other things down the line that I would like to do once that happens. And then one thing I am considering doing is, and I put out a poll, to get back into kind of what the foundation of the site was, which was performance reviews. Of course, with my injuries and then with the COVID thing, it's kind of made it tough to do that. So we might have to got 2021 to kind of get back into doing that as well, which would then necessitate us doing some more with the YouTube channel, which has been sitting kind of dormant for the past 8 months or so.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a few other things that I'm working on that I gotta keep a little close to the vest now. But yeah, we're over the next 6 to 12 months. We're looking to do a few things to definitely grow the platform more and become a bigger voice in the space, a spot to where you can go to get not only quality information but honest information.
Right.
And I'm not pointing any fingers, but I do read websites, and I can tell when you have copied and pasted a press release from a brand. I can tell. And
Yeah.
so that's something that we don't want to do. That could mean we might not get invited to certain parties, or we might not get sent free stuff, but it is what it is. I would rather sacrifice that to be true to what's really going on than maybe saying more of what they may want, or the brand or a brand may want us to say, and kind of losing that voice that we're kind of building.
Right. And whatever you got, man, I'm here for it, and we'll be here for it too, especially those of us who are fans of hoops, sneakers, and just the overall culture of sports in general. So I'm definitely excited about that, man. And any other things that we should be on the lookout for from you, that's in your
Uh,
wheelhouse?
those are said the main things. Said this is, like I said, Sneaker Shop Talk is not my. I want to transition into doing it full time. I know I feel like I put out a lot of content, but it's not. I'm not totally full time yet, so that's the plan down the line. If you need insurance, holla at me.
Yeah, we have it. So in order for these people to be able to get these services, man, where should they go to hit you up?
Well, you can find me on any of my social media outlets, Twitter, Instagram at SneakerShopTalk, and then at LinkedIn is just my name, Brandon King.
Nice. I'll be sure to plug your information too in the caption of this video on YouTube. So
Okay, fantastic.
They will definitely know where to find you, man. Brother, I appreciate your time. It was fun as always. We'll definitely chop it up more offline, but I really appreciate your time on this. It's been fun.
Absolutely. Anytime. You just let me know.
Yes, sir. We'll do.
All right.
All right, y'all. This has been another episode of Family and Friends Day. Rotor BC Productions. I'm out.